What's going on YouTube? It is JT, and my good friend Toph is having me profile my first place OTS Championship Floowandereeze deck list. Now, exactly a year from this past weekend's event, I also won an OTS Championship, the same exact store with Floowandereeze. So I guess you could say we're making this a yearly thing on this exact date. So I went 3-1 in Swiss and won my two top 4 matches, earning me first place in this nice, sick Heart of the Blue Eyes OTS Championship trophy. And my list is a bit different compared to last year, because I'm actually running 3 copies of my main win con of the deck, which we'll get into later on. So, let's start with the main deck first of all. We are starting off with 3 copies of Rabina, 3 copies of Eaglin, and 1 copy each of Street and Toucan. It's the standard ratios I've always played in my build. Sometimes you can go like 2 of Street or 2 of Toucan, especially in cashier format, but I don't really see the need to at this moment, so I just keep it pretty standard like that. As for the big birds, 2 Empen, 1 Apex Avion, and 1 Rise of the Mega Monarchs. Again, more standard ratios. Rise of the Mega Monarch will help you loop your Featherstorm and or Shifter and any other card that you want to get back to your hand. It also provides good disruption on your opponent on their turn if you get your normal summons triggered via map or Dreaming Town. Next up, we have the only hand traps in the main deck that we play, 3 copies of Dimension Shifter, win con of the deck, especially in this format with Snake Eye Fire King is prevalent. Same with the Fiendsmith engine. You drop Shifter on a Snake Eye Fire King deck and you win 99% of the time, unless your other hand is pretty much garbage. That's it for the monsters. We're going to go on to the spells. I played Triple Duality, which I've always played, but now we play 2 Extravagance and 1 Prosperity because Konami decided to hit Prosperity to 1. I don't really agree with that change because I think it hurts rogue decks that don't have that much consistency otherwise, but that is a topic for another day. The 2 Extravagance supplements the 2 Prosperities that we lost, but with 2 Extravagance instead of the 2nd and 3rd Prosperity, the deck is slightly less consistent. Like, there'll be times you'll of Duality, and when you're already breaking it, you'll like excavate an Extravagance and you can't really use it. Whereas if you did it with Prosperity, you'd be able to use Prosperity right after. If I had my way, I'd still be playing 3 Prosperity over 2 Extravagance and 1 Prosperity. In terms of blue cards in the spell and trap region, we got 3 map, the main field spell of the deck. You'll typically use this to chain block Ash Blossom, reveal Rabina and or Eaglin, and then banish the other copy, normal summon the one that you revealed, and then get back the one that you banished, and it chain blocks Ash Blossom. 3 copies of Advent Adventure, another consistency card that also helps you dodge stuff like Infinite Impermanence, Effect Veiler, and any other targeted negation. It's also a good time card because you can gain 500 life after it resolves. Next up, 1 copy of Floowandereeze and Unexplored Winds. I have made 1, and it's pretty good. It will help you get over some stuff that you can't otherwise get over. And you can basically send your opponent's card plus 1 of your monsters to tribute summon a level 7 or higher monster. Basically monster that requires 2 tributes to be tribute summoned. An interesting note about this is it bypasses Massive Restrict. So since it's not actually tributing, you can just send your opponent's Massive Restrict plus 1 of your own monsters to do the tribute summon. It does not bypass Zombie World though, so you can't really use that to your advantage. Fun fact though, my opponent has Skill Drain on the field in my round 1 match, and I had this on board, and I obviously couldn't get the chains going due to it, but I had this on board, so I basically tributed over 1 of my already existing monsters plus 1 of their cards, and I got my Mega Reza out, and I basically attacked for game. And since Mega Reza was negated by Skill Drain, I wasn't forced to bounce anything on my side of the field back. Next up, we got 2 board breakers. Well, 1 board breaker, 2 copies. Dark Ruler No More. This is more or less filler. I don't know what I would put in its place. I guess it's good just to have in case you go second, you need to break an opponent's board. You can also search out with Thrust. I play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. This deck is going to be a hand trap magnet. So if you get a hand trapped and you have a Wind Wing Beast monster on the field, like Eaglin or Toucan, you can use that to set the Feather Storm and hopefully buy yourself another turn. Also, you can grab yourself Dark Lord No More, like I just mentioned, or any of the pots if you need it. 1 copy of Swallow's Cavalry. This is basically a worse version of Advent of Adventure, but I play it as a 4th Advent for more effect negation dodging, mainly. Unfortunately, it searches out a level equal to the Wing Beast monster that you tributed, so I can't like tribute an M-Pen with my hand and search out Rabina or anything. It has to be the same level. Next up, we got some more 1-ofs. Call by the Grave, Harpy's Feather Duster, and Terraforming. Call by the Grave to deal with Droll and Lockbird or any pesky hand traps. Feather Duster to sack the hell out of back row. Terraforming, add more consistency to see your map. And then we play 4 trap cards. 3 copies of Harpy's Feather Storm. This is a big change. This is the change I alluded to at the beginning of the video. Before, I usually played 2 in the main deck, plus maybe 1 in the side deck. Back in August, I changed it to 3, and I've had more success. Floowandereeze, to be perfectly honest, is a go first deck. Your aim is to always go first if you're given the opportunity, and you want to see this card as much as possible. So between this, Thrust, and your pots, and in theory the Unexplored wins as well, since that has a draw effect, you should be able to open at least 1 Feather Storm every few games. You flip this against like Branded, Snake Eye, anything really, and you basically win the game. There is no question about that. Also, if it's destroyed by card effect, you can add a Harpy's Feather Duster to your hand, but that's an effect that rarely comes up for me. I would highly recommend playing 3 copies of this. It is one of your best cards in the deck. And last but not least, 1 Dreaming Town, which is our main way of controlling the opponent's board. So you tribute summon a monster while this is in the graveyard to banish it, and then you flip all your opponent's monsters face down. And I do want to make note that all your opponent's special summon monsters, they flip face down. If they get flip face up, they still count as special summon monsters. This is a ruling dispute I've had at my local a month ago, and my opponent didn't believe me about it. This is especially relevant when it comes to M-Pen, because M-Pen does prevent special summon attack position monsters from activating their effects on your opponent's side of the field. That's it for the main deck. We're going to go right to the side deck. I play 2 copies of Perilia and 3 copies of the Numal Charmy. The reason why I'm doing 2-3 is because I didn't have room for a 3rd Perilia. And I value Furolos of more importance than Perilia, because this card, believe it or not, has actually multiple applications. In addition to being a good go second sided, where you can draw a bunch of cards against decks that like to spam extra deck monsters, I will sometimes keep a copy or 2 in my deck when I'm going first. And the reason being is, at the very least, it's a Wind Wing Beast monster that procs Feather Storm, or I can just banish it with Advent of Adventure if my hand's really bricky to search another Wing Beast monster such as Rabina or Eaglin. I've done that a few times with it, so it's not bad to have it in your deck, in your main deck going first. Next up, 3 copies of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. This is a time card plus a weighted combat Tenpai. It comes up. It actually won me my round 5 Tenpai matchup at my OTS championship back in August. Because my opponent in the battle phase was going to use Chandra's effect to special summon. And then I went Dogwood, and my opponent couldn't kill me as a result, and he lost in time. Next up, we have Board Breakers, 1 copy of Herald of the Abyss, 2 copies of Ultimate Slayer. The reason for Herald of the Abyss is simple. This deck folds to Towers monsters, such as against Perilli, Adignister, which isn't really that relevant, Raid Raptor, and even random Geomathematics Spinal Sigmas that Centurion might be playing. I would know because I actually play Centurion and I put 1 copy of that extra deck monster in my extra deck. But if you get a Towers placed against you and you're playing Flu, you're losing because you're not able to cut the monster's attack in half because of the Towers monster being unaffected by your card effects. Ultimate Slayer is here mainly for Centurion, actually, because Dark Ruler No More kind of sucks against Centurion. And the reason why is because they're going to end on Blazer Dragon, and you can Dark Ruler it, but they're going to banish it and then have it come back next turn, and then you're not going to be able to kill your opponent because Dark Ruler No More prevents you from doing damage. Whereas if I was to Ultimate Slayer, I can Ultimate Slayer my opponent's causing Blazer Dragon and send an extra deck monster, which I'll show right now, the Golden Cloud Beast Malong. Return the Blazer to the opponent's extra deck, and then with Malong, it can bounce the opponent's stand-up Centurion to the hand, so they cannot get another Blazer out. They also cannot respond to Ultimate Slayer Blazer Dragon because it says that your opponent cannot activate monster effects in response to this card's activation. It's also decent against Yubel. Next up, we have, for back row removal, 2 copies of Lightning Storm, 2 copies of Causing Cyclone. I wanted to play 3, but I ended up cutting out a 3rd copy of Causing Cyclone for the Herald of the Abyss. Lightning Storm can just full-on clear the back row. Causing Cyclone can be good to clear away single floodgates while you have an established board already. I play Lightning Storm over Evenly Matched because I want to just clear everything off the opponent's board and not have to leave a lingering card. That's it for the side deck. Next up, we have the extra deck, which is actually pretty relevant since we have Ultimate Slayer in this side deck. Your standard generic stuff, SP Little Knight, Relinquish Anima, and then we have the Zeus and Typhon package. We got Assembled Nightingale, Downward Magician, Typhon, in case you get put into some weird scenarios where you can't really do your Floowandereeze combos and need to bounce your opponent's extra deck monsters, and Zeus. But for Ultimate Slayer targets, we have Fairjet the Barren Blossom. This will help mulligan your hand and fix your hand and unbrick it, hopefully. Sharig has synergy with Advent Adventure. So if you open an Advent Adventure banishing a Winged Beast monster during a draw phase, and you go right to your main phase and use Ultimate Slayer to send Sharig to the graveyard and bounce something on your opponent's side of the field, you can use Sharig's effect as basically a Rhoda for Winged Beast monsters. You already have something banished thanks to Advent Adventure, and then you can use Sharig to add a Winged Beast monster of the same level or lower than the amount of monsters you have banished, which would be Rabina or Eaglin, since they're level 1. So Golden Cloud Beast belongs. Already explained this when I was going over Ultimate Slayer. Send the Synchro monster with Ultimate Slayer. Bounce the opponent's Synchro monster. This procs up, lets you bounce the card on your opponent's side of the field. 2 Aggregator. This will actually be really good once Raziel comes out in December. Send the XYZ monster to the graveyard Ultimate Slayer, which will be this. Bounce an opponent's XYZ monster, and then this card activates and can negate a face-up card on the opponent's side of the field. Garura and Entis. Bounce an opponent's fusion monster, and you can either draw a card with Garura, or you can pop the card on the field Entis. And then we have Odd Eyes Arcray Dragon. This does nothing in the graveyard, but you can send it to the graveyard of Ultimate Slayer to bounce an opponent's Pendulum monster to their hand or extra deck, depending on what other typing it has. So my matchups at the OTS Championship were round 1, I beat Snake Eyes 2-1. It was actually Kashira Snake Eye. This is the one where I won under Skill Drain. Round 2, I beat Tenpai 2-0. Round 3, I lost to Tenpai 2-1 because I bricked game 3, which happens with this deck. It is what it is. Round 4, I beat B-Trooper 2-0. And in the top 4, I beat Snake Eye 2-0. And then finals, I beat Snake Eye 2-0. So, I really love playing shifter decks in this meta because it really craps on Snake Eye. And that's just a dominating deck that we've had to deal with for about a year now. And it's really annoying, so I just like to counter the deck with a shifter deck, and I love Floowandereeze. So that is going to be that. Thank you all for watching this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you guys got any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And a big shout out to Toph for letting me post my deck on his channel.